Madam Toastmaster, gathered guest, the internet audience. I joined Toastmasters for probably the same reason a lot of people did, which was that speaking in public just scared the crap out of me. And I felt like I had to do something about it. And, it's funny when I think about it, because I go back to, like, when I was in grade school, I really didn't have a problem standing up and speaking in front of class, and even in high school, I tended to avoid speaking in class, but it really didn't scare me. But I had to give a presentation once, and I thought I would just do it off the cuff at the place I worked, and I realized that I kind of didn't know what I was going to do right before I had to do it, and I sort of did like panic and had this kind of. And I think a lot of people get what basically is a panic reaction when you get up and speak. These things where you can't get your breath and your voice is going weird and all that sort of stuff. I mean, I think it's really basically a panic reaction. So at any rate, somehow that sort of became how I dealt with public speaking. I just couldn't help. I couldn't keep myself from moving into that mindset of just being scared to death, and when I think about it, I think that it's not so much being scared of speaking as it is being scared of letting people see how scared you are. It's almost like you don't want to reveal yourself as panicking. And just the act of getting up and talking is not that bad, but the thought of standing up there and having everybody watch you morph from this collected human being to this person who's just scared out of their wits is kind of humiliating, It's kind of embarrassing and it's kind of humiliating. So anyway, I dealt with that by trying to avoid public speaking as much as I could in every possible way, and I managed to pull it off for quite a while, this and that. But when I was in my residency training program, we were in a program in a big university. It was a small program. There were only 6 trainees, 2 per year. And we did have to give some presentations, and I somehow managed to mask the fact that I was, getting nervous a lot of the time, or could only speak so long before my breath gave out on me or whatever. But we had this occasion where this family donated a large amount of money to our department. And so they were going to endow a chair, and so I guess that means that it's enough money to pay somebody's salary for a year, just the revenue from the money. So we had this big endowment ceremony, and the dean of the medical school was there, the president of the American Academy of Ophthalmology, of course all of our department, and members of this very wealthy family that had made this donation. And they wanted to have, as one of the speakers, they had a whole series of speakers. One of the speakers was to be one of the residents, which is what in medical school, that's what trainees are called in medicine, residents. So I was a senior resident, my last year of residency. So either I or my partner really probably should have done it. But even then, we sort of chickened out and we said, let's draw sticks. So that reduced our chances from 1 and 2 to 1 and 6. So all the 6 of us sat in a little room and we drew sticks. And I drew the short stick. And I just looked at it. I thought for sure I was going to get out of this one. And so anyway, so it fell upon me to give the resident speech at this event. And needless to say, it was a pretty intimidating prospect for me. And we used to have this weekly meeting of our own department, and the chairman, in his version of democracy, was to go around and ask everybody if they had anything to bring up. And then he mentioned I was going to be one of the speakers, and I said, yeah, I drew the short stick. And he didn't think that was all that funny. And he called me into his office later, and he said, you don't have to do this. It's okay. No brownie points or anything. So he was a little offended, I think, that I didn't act like I was honored or something. I said, well, no, I feel that I should because I did draw the short stick. But anyway, so the night before this gathering, well, a couple of days before, I wrote out a speech. And the night before, really driven by fear more than anything. And I have sometimes told people that I think the 3 biggest motivators in my life are laziness, guilt, and fear. If there's not guilt or fear driving me, I'm just lazy. But anyway, so I wrote down this speech, and I literally practiced it exactly like I was going to do it. I sat in a chair, like I would be on a chair on the stage, and then I got up, pretended I was there, got up, shook my hand, and actually did, something, and read the speech. And I did it maybe 30 times. I was just so afraid I was going to mess it up. And then the next day came, here we are in this big auditorium with all these people, and I was sitting up there on the stage with, maybe 7 or 8 other people, including the dean and president of the American Academy of Ophthalmology. And then my turn came to give the speech, and I wouldn't say I was as nervous as I thought I would be, but I definitely had some anxiety in me. And I got up and I gave that speech, and I really think doing it 30 times the night before helped me, because I just went through it like I did the night before. And I even felt brave enough to throw in a little ad lib about halfway through. Excuse me for a second here. And so it actually came off okay. And I actually realized midway through the speech that I had made no reference to our chairman, who was the first Jane McDermott shot chair of ophthalmology. That was the name of the endowment. So I threw in a little ad lib and said, thanks to our wonderful chairman, or something like that. And then I sat down and I was just terribly relieved. And it was in West Virginia. It was a fall day. It was cool outside. And I remember I went out that afternoon and just wandered around in the forest with just a very thin shirt, and I was a little cold, and I was listening to George Winston on earphones, that December, that kind of mellow jazz type music. It just put me in a whole different space for the rest of that day. Wow. So I survived the siege, but I didn't recover from my anxiety, and so years later I joined Roastmasters, and I can't say that I've fully recovered yet. And one of the other aspects of giving that speech in front of this whole crowd was I felt that there was a risk that they would see me standing there as an example of naked moral turpitude. Scared me to death.